Rabbi Dennis, thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being a friend for almost 3 years. Rabbi Dennis was the first one to welcome me to Faith Lutheran Church up the road when I began my interim there. And we've been friends ever since. And thank you to IID who has been my friend and who's held up the ideals that I embrace about how we might work together, talk together, and begin to live what our faith teaches us to be about. I was asked to speak from a Christian's perspective, and I don't think the Christians have a corner on this market from Muslims or Jews. But one thing I would say is that one of the things we stress is love. I think it's easy for us to think in terms of love in broad terms, but I refer to a quote from Gandhi to kind of describe and kind of set the mood. And I, like Rabbi Dennis, need to make apologies for my faith group, Christianity, because we've used far too long our scriptures to bring terror upon all others that don't believe like us. Gandhi says the message of Jesus, as I understand it, is contained in the Sermon on the Mount, unadulterated and taken as a whole. If then I had to face only the Sermon on the Mount and my own interpretation of it, I should not hesitate to say, oh yes, I am a Christian. But negatively, I can tell you that in my humble opinion, what passes as Christianity is a negation of the Sermon on the Mount. I like your Christ, said Gandhi. I do not like your Christians. They are so unalike. Sermon on the Mount. That may be a foreign passage for you, so I'll read it. It's from the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and then after he sat down with his disciples, he began to speak, and he taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for yours is a reward great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Gandhi said, that's the kind of faith I can believe in. And I think that passage could be embraced by all who are in this room tonight. For you see, I think we look at people and we tend to want to label them. Think for just a moment, if you will, with me. What is your picture of your enemy? What does that person look like? For me, on active duty in the Air Force in Germany, my enemy was the Russians. We were told that if they were to leave where they were stationed and cross that line into our space, what was known as West Germany, we would take 70% casualties. And for me, in the back of my mind, I couldn't imagine that I could even ever walk up to a Russian and say anything nice to them. And then the wall came down when we were still in Germany. And one day I just happened to be in Berlin. Well, a few months after the wall came down. I think it was April, and the wall came down in November. And I was with a youth group that we had taken from our air base. And we were over there just kind of looking at the wall and talking and so forth. And then this guy came up and started talking to us. And it became obvious to me that he was not an American and he was not German, that he was Russian. And for the first time in my life, I realized that he was a human being. Just like you. Just like you. Just like you. And we had a nice conversation. I knew very little Russian. He knew very little English. But together, the youth and I were able to communicate with this person. And it was a wonderful experience. And all of a sudden, the light came on. And I began to believe what my faith teaches me, that we're all creatures of God. And that God is love. And the next thing you know, we're trading little things. We had some Capri-Sun drinks and some candy bars, and we gave it to the Russian. He gave us some things too. And then I looked over my shoulder, and what do you think I saw? A video camera, bigger than that one. And when I moved away from it, it said CCP1, which is Russian television. Now that probably wouldn't matter, except for me to visit Germany, or East Germany, Berlin, at the time, even after the wall came down, we were required to be in our Class A uniform. And one of our requirements, one of our directives was that we weren't supposed to talk to the Russians. And here I was on television. The point of it is that we need to begin to live what we say we believe. And begin to borrow from one another and begin to embrace those kinds of things that make us similar, that brings us together rather than to separate us. Another reading from our holy book in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in tongues of mortals and of angels, but if I do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers to understand all mysteries and knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but if I have not love, I gain nothing. If I give away all my possessions, but if I have not love, I gain nothing. Listen to this, what love is. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. Love is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing. It rejoices in right. Love bears all things. Love believes all things. Love hopes all things. Love endures all things. Love never ends. I think that's another reading that we all could embrace, because we are all creatures of God. What is love? What is it? It is silence when your words would hurt. Love is patience when your neighbor is curt. Love is deafness when the scandal flows. Love is thoughtfulness for another's woes. Love is promptness when stern duty calls. Love is courage when misfortune falls. You know, we can continue to see how different we are and look at all those things that separate us, but I have a better idea. I think it's the kind of things that Institute for Interfaith Dialogue has been talking about for a long time, and I really embrace it. We are better together than we are separate.
Yeah.
We are stronger together than we are separate.
Yes.
And we can give the world a better example of how to live when we live together. Gandhi says, we must be the change we wish to see. Thank you.